The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, this is Selenium from ZSL. Welcome for the webinar, Need of the Hour, ZSL's Performance Testing Framework. The speaker for today's session is Mohan Shankar, Head of ZSL Validation Services. Mohan will discuss on the need for a performance testing framework and ZSL implementation and customization capabilities of it. During the presentation, all participants will be muted. You can submit your questions on the right-hand side of your screen using the chat window. We will answer some of the questions during the Q&A session following the presentation and answer any remaining questions offline. With that, I would like to turn the presentation over to Mohan Shankar. Welcome, Mohan.
Thank you very much, Sugalya. I would like to thank everyone who has joined this webinar, which we are going to talk about, and it's going to about the need of the hour and the need of performance testing and ZSL's performance testing approach. Sugalya, can you go to the next slide, please? All right, today's agenda is going to be a very brief one. So what we are going to talk about is, just to start with, I'll go ahead and give you a brief introduction about what is ZSL and an overview of ZSL. Then I'll go and talk about ZLOAD framework architecture, which is a unique framework which has been built at ZSL. And the next thing is, we have taken a sample approach to demonstrate how the ZLOAD framework has been used using a NeoLoad tool, which is one of the evolving tools in the performance testing area. And then we talk about the implementation and the outputs. So that is going to be the agenda of today. Sugalya, can you go to the next slide, please? About ZSL. So ZSL is a 15 years global technology integrator, and we offer a lot of business solutions. And we are headquartered at New Jersey, Edison. We have the state-of-the-art technology. We have an R&D center in the US, and we have close to 4,000 employees spread across different locations. We also have a dedicated R&D team, which is called as Idea Labs, and we have our own products and services. We are pioneering in few industries in the insurance, finance, e-government, and the telecom industry. Also, we have been certified at ISO and been assessed at CMMI level 3. Next slide, Sugalya, please. All right, just to talk about the need of performance testing. Why do we need to have performance testing in place? So, as you know, as of now, the technology is increasing, and the challenges of the applications that are getting built are becoming more and more. The number of users that those logging into the system are increasing on a daily basis. So the most important thing is the performance of the application. That it talks about how many users generally a system would accept, what is the response time generally an application or a product would give. So it has become so critical in this world that all applications have to be working with the performance standards, and we define standards for products, and at the industry level, we generally have standards for any web-based applications or any websites. So we at ZVS specialize in this area of performance testing, and we have come up with a unique framework, which is called the ZLOAD framework architecture. So what is so special about a framework? A framework is generally one which is actually organized in a way so that you will have a lot of reusable components which is being built inside the system, so that it is always reusable. As I told you, reusable components are always there to reuse across different projects. So when you have a framework, you know what is the work that goes on at each and every level. So what is unique about ZLOAD's framework architecture? It is a 3-tier architecture where you have application validation design, resource validation design, and controller scenario design. So what is that we do at all these levels? Basically, at application validation design, it contains test data, reusable functions for the test scripts, also for the core business scenarios. This is what we generally have at the application validation design. From a resource validation design, it contains the configuration details to generate the needed metrics that has to come out of the performance test. Controller scenario design. It controls. It is actually basically a population, and it has the details of how many virtual users generally have to come into the system at a given time. So it is a three-tier architecture, and if you could see the framework architecture, it has been designed in such a way that this framework would be or we will be able to implement this framework in all the industry standard tools, also the freeware tools. So just to take a scenario here, what we have done here is we have taken one of the scenarios from a product what we develop at ZSL, and we have tried to do a little bit of performance testing so that to show how efficient this framework would behave in a new kind of tool. So Vilya, can you go to the next screen, please? All right. So what happens here? This is the performance testing scenario. We have got an application called Sylvanus 360, which is actually an application which has been designed for recycling technology. So we have taken a couple of scenarios here where we go ahead and log into the application, create a new customer, search a customer, and then we log out. This is one of the business scenarios generally happens when we search for a customer. Then we take another scenario where you create a work order using the customer details. So if you see here, we have written some reusable scripts. The login functionality and the logout functionality are reusable scripts. We have a customer search lookup which we have a reusable function. So whenever we say as reusable, this login logout script can be used in many projects. So since it's a script, we have to call it whenever we do it in any of the projects. Can we go to the next slide, please, Subhya? We'll go to the next slide, please. All right. So this is the user interface. What you see whenever you log into a ZLOAD, which is one of the evolving performance testing tools. So we have recorded the scenario of logging into the system, searching for a customer, and then what we do here is, if you see here, there is a box which highlights, which talks about how are we passing the customer name into this. So this is actually where we go ahead and do the parameterization, and we call the customer name from a flat file. So this is what we talk about an application validation design. Can we go to the next slide, please? All right. So if you see here, what we have done, we have gone into it, and what we are doing basically here is we are calling additional values here. So once we do here, what happens? So since we are having unique reusable functions for the login, we call the login functionality. Then we call the search customer, and we feed in the data from a flat file. Can we go to the next slide, please? Next slide, please. All right. This is where we validate the resource validations. So generally, the most important thing what we have to look at in performance testing is what are all the metrics generally that needs to be monitored, or what are all the different types of reports generally we need to get from a system. So this is where you configure all these things in the ZLOAD application. So we have just taken here, we have just configured, we are getting the details about the Microsoft Windows monitor. Based on the needs, we can go ahead and include whatever information you want. So since it's a Microsoft Windows-based environment, we are getting the Microsoft Windows monitor enabled here. Can you go to the next slide, please? So resource validation design. So what we do here is this is where you get your other systems from where the load is getting generated. So these are all the systems which we have to come in, or this is the scenarios with which we are going to attack the system. So basically, what happens here is we are going to say that at any given point there are going to be 4 people who are going to choose scenario 1, and the other 4 who are going to use it as scenario 2. So this is what we do here in the resource validation. Can you go to the next screen? Next screen, Sugalya. The next one, please. The one before that. All right. So now this is the most important screen. What we have to do here in this screen is basically we have. Sugalya, can you go to the previous slide, please? What we are going to do here. So we are going to configure the list of systems from which we are going to generate the load here. So you have different ways of doing it. So generally, what we can do is
Hello. I think the line.
hello.
Yes, Mohan, the line is lost.
No. There was some problem. I think it's fine now.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. What we do at the resource validation design. So this is where you generally configure the list of systems or the load generators, which we call in a performance testing. Using this is what generate the load into the system. So in a general scenario, if you're going to target close to 200 users, you can actually generate these loads from multiple systems. So here we have taken a sample at 10 virtual users. This is what we have added 2 systems using the load generators, and then you see here there are multiple options available. Load variation policy. So this is one of the features which most of the standard tools would offer you. So to tell you if the load is going to be constant, or you need to have a different ramp up, or what is the peak period you have to give, or you can have a customized way in which you will attack the system. So these are all the different options which are available in this particular tool when you do any performance testing. Can we go to the next slide? What we have done here is basically we have run these scenarios, and this is the output which we get in the test summary report. So if you could see the test summary report, what happens is it generally gives you an overview of total pages, how many pages were accessed, the total number of hits, the total number of users launched, the total throughput of the system, and if there are any errors, what is the error, and average page response per second is actually 0.4, which actually is at an industry level, and average response time is 1.44. So it gives all these parameters as a test summary report. Can we go to the next slide, please? All right. So this is a graphical user interface which talks about the different graphs, the average response, the average request response time, hits per page, and throughput. So what we are trying to say here is whenever we have a plan or a framework with which we need to do a performance testing, it gives you a systematic way of how to do things, and your outputs also will be in a systematic way. So what we have taken here is a basic example of how to do performance testing using ZLOAD framework, and how you implement it in any of the products. So what we have taken is an internet-based application. We can also take any kind of product which is actually a desktop-based or a Windows-based application. So this is how the ZLOAD framework has been implemented, and this is how the output would generally come in. Can we go on to the next slide, please? Yes. So with this, what we come is we are almost to the end of the ZLOAD framework explanation. So if there are any questions, I'll be able to help you to get your queries resolved on that.
You can post your questions on the chat window. So Mohan, let's wait for some time to see whether the questions are coming in.
Okay, Sugalya.
So any questions? Okay, I would like to thank everyone again for joining us on today's webinar. This webinar will be posted on ZSL's TV and webinar page. For any questions, feel free to email us anytime at info@zslinc.com or call us at 732-549